Hello, what I have learned today, and today's topic is REST API. These are my self learning notes, and I'm happy to share this with you. What is RESTful APIs? So, REST stands for Representation State Transfer. It is an architecture style, is not any strict protocol, it's just a recommendation or a style for designing the APIs. An API is application programming interface, is a message between application that allow to exchange data. What is the purpose of REST API? So let's think why REST API is needed. First of all, it is needed to facilitate the communication. RESTful APIs enable application to communicate and share data securely over the internet. It has a very important role because that's where internet is all about sharing and sending the data, and it should be secure. And then of course it help modular design. So API breaks the functionality into smaller pieces. So API plays a role in modularizing the design, and it reusable module promoting flexibility and scalability and platform independence. So RESTful API rely on common technology like HTTP, JSON, XML. So that makes them work across different platforms. You can use a phone to use REST API, you can use desktop as well. Let's understand the REST API in a generic term. So as you know, right, if you go in a restaurant, there is a server. Server has a clear set of rules that you order a dish. So ordering is like a request that you do in the form of get, and then server actually serve you the dish that you ordered. So that is giving you all the response on your request. So that means it's a response means it's a data that you need. So similarly, if you have a web application of a particular URL that actually, let's say you have a list of dishes that you click, and then it fetch the data, the list of dishes, and present to you. So this makes communication efficient and allow different application to work together because there is a clear case set of rules defined to interact with the application. Why REST API is so popular? There are multiple reasons. Let's look few of them. So it's leveraging the existing technology. So it is used because it is easy to use because there's a lot of technology available to use. Statelet communication. So you don't have to, each individual request is from the client include everything that is required to process that request. You don't need to store the previous state of the request. Resource oriented design. Here you identify a resource and you design everything around that. You put the verbs that act on that resource like http verbs get, post, put, and delete. And then it helps to decouple client server architect. That means since this is API, there is a way to share data between two applications that actually helps to separate the functionality between client and server. And then standardized interface and documentation often follows well-defined design principle and best practices. There's a lot of document and help available over internet for the RESTful API. What are the practical use of the REST API? Of course, all the web application need to talk to the server. So web application, mobile app will talk to the mobile app server over internet. IoT devices that works on the a particular domain sends and connected to the server. So that also a use case. And microservices architecture where different functionality talk to each other via APIs. And now let's talk about how to create a RESTful API. What are the design considerations that we have to do? First of all, you have to identify the resource. So resource could be anything. For example, in case of a, let's say you have a shop for the book. So book list could be a resource. Individual book ID could be a resource. kind of, so identify the resource, and those are anything inside your product. And then you have to choose the URL. So once you identify the resources, you have those act as a noun. For example, users, book, product, those can be your noun URLs. And then you will apply the verb on those URLs. So you can have a URL for update, you can have a delete kind of actions on those URL as well. And then the third step is you have to select the methods, what kind of operation you want to do on those resource. It could be get to retrieve the data, post to create new resource, put to update an existing resource, patch a specific attribute to change, for example user password, and then delete, completely delete a particular resource. These are the verbs provided by HTTP methods. And now after the verbs, you have to choose the data format, in which format you want to present the data. It could be a JSON or XML. Once you identify, you will present your data in those format. And then at the end, once everything else is decided, you will start writing the server side logic. For that you will choose a suitable language, like for example Python with Flask or JavaScript with Express.js. And then those framework also provide routing mechanism to define the endpoints of different URL and HTTP methods like update, and then implement the logic to handle request. And then you have to code the server to handle all the request, manipulation of data. If there is a involvement of database, you have to code that as well. Here a short example in Python with Flask that is representing how we do the RESTful API. So in this one, I'm just creating a in-memory book data structure. I'm not using any databases here, just creating two books record. And then I'm implementing a URL for the books that will give you the list of that has the get method that will give you all the books written in the JSON format. So my data format is JSON. Similarly, for a particular book ID, you can actually implement a get method where you can retrieve a particular book, and you can also implement the other method as well if the book is not available. That's all about the REST API today. Hope this short introduction of API is helpful to understand the RESTful APIs. Happy learning. Thank you.